So we're going to do vertical cuts and get these cabbage steaks down to about 1 inch. And this is the beauty of Megaton. Very tight knit. It will hold together as a steak better. That's one of the things you got to watch for in a good cabbage. And Copenhagen at the store is good for that. So vertical, 1 inch cut. That one's a little lopsided. We'll save this for soup later. And that makes 1 steak. Red onions, doesn't have to be ridiculously thin, not like the thinnest that you can ever make it, but relatively thin sliced and kept in whole discs. These will wind up going on later in the process when we're doing the final assembly and the final bake. Jalapenos are not a must-do in this recipe. If you don't like the heat, there's several things that you can do both to cut back on the heat or not use them at all. I just know that the green adds a pretty good element. And then coring, if you want to cut the heat in half, if you core these out, drop the seeds and the webbing, and leave kind of that hollow, empty pepper, you'll cut your heat in by 3/4, at least by half, depending on how diligent you do it. We like the heat, so these are going to be diced up just as they are. Part of the do-it-yourself with this, we're trying to do as much of this meal on our own, on ourselves. This is deer meat that we just ground up from last hunting season, and we'll incorporate that in with some beef fat, mix that together, put all our spices in here. No trips to the store. Now we'll put the ingredients in the meat, and we're almost making like a meatball. Garlic, powdered onion, I like a lot of onion, salt and black pepper, and finally just a hint of oregano. Then mix that together, form these into balls, relatively large. Fill your whole palm, because this is the unique part of how we're going to cook this. Most people just throw this on top of the cabbage and bake it, but we're taking this out to the flat top grill, and there will be an element of, they're not quite smash burgers, but getting that Maillard, that crispy, that brown meat effect in these before we put them on top of the cabbage makes for the secret flavor ingredient to mix in there. So when you make that ball, picture your hand. They're bigger than your standard smash burger size meatball. So they're a touch on the large side. If you were to do this with just store purchased beef fat, I would probably go with 80-20% fat or better. Definitely no lower than that, because it's going to shrink too much and put too much fat and grease into your cabbage. Stay tuned, you'll see how this flattens out in the first part of the cook and goes on top of that cabbage steak. Again, my mouth is already watering talking about this.
Next, continuing to get all your ingredients together before you head out to the grill. Olive oil, paprika, garlic powder, onion powder, and salt. Quite a bit of the olive oil, because that's what you're going to be covering the cabbage steaks in. Make the sauce before you head out to the grill. We'll be adding in table cream, sour cream, a dollop of tomato paste, some fresh parsley, black pepper, about a 1/2 cup of those diced jalapenos, garlic powder and onion powder, and stir that up. You won't be using all of this on your steaks. You'll have some for dipping on the side too. Use a coarse grater to grate a couple of zucchini. You want a pile of this to go on top of the cabbage and the hamburger as well.
So in this outdoor grill setup, we took a regular gas grill through a Bayou Classic 28-inch cast iron reversible griddle in there, and that heats up nicely, and it turns this whole setup into a flat top. We're going to do this entire cook on a flat top, even turning this into an oven. So first we have to do the preheat, which it's running a little bit hot right now. So we're going to let that cool. We use our laser to tell us what the temperature is, and 480, some spots are sitting at 500. We need to let this drop back a little bit, but prepping it, heating it up to go. And the first thing we want to do is oil up our cabbage. because that's what we're going to do first, is fry the cabbage.
Don't skimp on the spiced oil. Lather it on hot and heavy. That's going to be critical for how this initial cook happens.
One final chance, throw a little bit more oil on that cabbage, and let's put it on the grill. In the frying part of this cabbage, it happens pretty quick. And the flip is a little bit tricky. And don't worry about cooking your cabbage all the way through at this point, because you're also going to bake this in here to finish it off. A little bit of unravel there. So at this point, we've got a nice sear on these cabbage, so they come off. Sit over here and wait for the next step that we need them. Not quite cooked all the way through yet. Still plenty of juices left to come out of that, but that portion is done. We need to crank the heat way up on the burners, and then next coming up is the meat. And where I told you this is kind of like a smash burger, except they're giant, we're going to start this off just like a smash burger cook. Only one side, put the brown, crispy Maillard effect, and we're going to move it over, flip that over, put the brown side up, and then that lets all those spices, the fat flavor, the hamburger flavor will drop into the cabbage, cause that sizzle, and the cook will occur on this cabbage and finish off the meat as well. Let's get this going to make sure our temperature is way high. I'm talking better than 450 degrees, which right now we're down to 400 degrees. So we've got to let this reheat up for a little bit. We'll be right back with that. So here we go. We fired up all the burners. We'll turn these off because that's a lot of heat that comes off of this. Massive BTUs in this Monument grills. You can, when you want the heat, you can pour it on. So we're up to 460, 480, 469. That's a pretty good temperature. We're going to go ahead and get 2 of these going, and they are gonna get mashed flat. Again, this isn't full fat. This is deer meat with some beef flavor in it. And it doesn't necessarily have to be as big as the cabbage, but we want it somewhere around that. And these aren't smash burgers. We're not smashing them flat. They'll have a little bit of substance left to them. But what we are trying to do is get some of that sear flavor, which nobody else is doing. They're doing these in an oven. And doing this in an oven, you're not going to get that Maillard effect of that protein and fat sizzling in its own juices and getting that gold, crispy color on it, which is what we're after. So let that flat top cast iron griddle impart its heat, which it does so well, into those patties. We'll just go right over here and flip these on to the cabbage steak, which during this time frame, we've got to do a little bit of prep work before those burgers goes on. We've got to put some purple onions down on this, and the burger's going to go on top of that. Let's take a look and see how well that's formed. Not quite there yet. When they want to lift off easily on their own, that's when the proteins are telling you they finished that browning effect, and you know it's ready to come off the grill. All right, those proteins are telling us they're good and ready to come up. Go right over onto our cabbage. Just look at that delicious gold color that you're going to get. Grilled meat flavor will come with that cabbage. Turn our heat way down because we've got to get this grilled down. We're going to go full indirect. We've got to get it down to about 350 degrees. So we're only going to go with 2 burners, the inner burners off, And if we want more heat, we're going to fire up these two outer burners to roll that heat in. Our thermostat is right here in the center, and we want that hovering somewhere around 350 degrees with all these BTUs, with all that energy stored inside that cast iron griddle. We've got to get this to go down to be a much slower cook. But let's start the assembly of this, getting it set up for the cook. So we're going to throw a little bit more oil on the grill and then get these settled in and finish building them out. First thing we need to put on is a pile of those zucchini. Then we put a pile of that sauce on. And now it's temperature management. Everything is off at this point. Our griddle surface has come down. So we're going to go indirect, go to our outside burners and start those up and cut them back as we approach the temperature that we're going to reach. And we'll do this closed up. Monitoring the temperature over here, or if you have a thermometer on the outside, keep an eye on that. But really the struggle is to keep the temperature down low enough. Whether you have 10 acres or just a skillet, these are the steps and the things that you can do and learn to make this almost zero investment meal. No running to the store. You've got your deer meat, you've got your cabbage, you've got your herbs, you've got the jalapenos, all incorporating in this meal, and you did it all yourself. So we've got our temperature sitting right about where we want it. We're gonna take a look inside. And I'll tell you this, don't let the grill, the flame, the iron intimidate you. Make your try. It's no reason to be wound up about how this is turning out. If it doesn't go right the first time, learn your lessons and make it again. Either way, it's gonna taste good. And it'll just get better and better the more and more that you do this.
We set our timer to go for 40 minutes, and it ended up taking a little bit less than an hour to get the temperature that we wanted.
Well, we are at the temperature that I want to see, so it's time to get them off. Oh, listen to that crispy, crispy, crispy. So here we are, had a little chance to rest, and we're going to garnish with some of those bright green jalapenos spread across the top. It's gonna pop, give a little bit more heat. You can use green onions at this point and not go with the heat if that's not what you're looking for. My mouth is watering. We pretty much always go for the heat here. And if you want a little bit of dipping sauce on the side, maybe you put a dollop of that on the plate as well. So you have a little bit more of that flavor, the option of grabbing that and dipping the bits into that. I want you to hear this. This is the crispiness of this cabbage. I'm gonna do another piece of that. All right, enough of that. Let's get into the food. Delicious. Nice little addition to go along with the cabbage too, as a topper. So YouTube says that this video is perfect for your viewing habits. This is my latest upload, and over here is a playlist you might just enjoy. I hope you liked it. If you did, please click like, subscribe, share, and come on back for more.